Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and in this video I'm going to walk you through the most underrated part of drawing flowers, the leaves. So we're going to go through a couple different ways to add leaves and then also some little buds and berries and stuff like that. And these are all kind of the pieces that you use to tie all of your flowers together into a composition. So if you haven't seen any of my other series videos where we walk through tons of different types of flowers, make sure you go check those out first so that you know how to draw the flowers before you add the leaves to them. And if you need any step-by-step walkthrough worksheets as you use those, they're all linked down below and you can work through this step-by-step with me as we do it. So in this video, I'm going to be using 3 different types of pens. I have a size 1, a size 3, and a size 5. These are micron pens. They're just one of my favorite types of pens, but you can use anything you have. So even if all you have is a ballpoint pen, you can totally still follow along with this video. And for paper, I'm using Rhodia paper, which is just a nice, smooth type of paper. I've got lots of it kicking around, but again, just use whatever you have. So I'm going to use my size 3, and first we're just going to talk about some really basic leaf shapes. So you can make lots of big changes in your designs just by changing the shape of your leaves. So there are a couple different really simple ones you could do. You can just do a really simple pointed leaf. You could do a really long pointed leaf. You could do a really wide leaf with a pointed end. Sort of screwed that one up, but you get the idea. And you can also vary them together in the same kind of vine. So if you were to do a vine like this, you could have some medium-sized ones alongside some longer ones and kind of work them through that way in your composition. So they don't always have to go hand in hand and match together. You can just switch them up. So as I'm working through a composition, I usually am trying to think of where I can be adding my greenery. And sometimes it's a matter of adding a whole vine like that. And sometimes it's just adding 1 or 2 leaves at a time. So let's talk about kind of the 3 different ways you could do this. The first one, of course, is just to add a single leaf wherever you need it. And whether that's just a single leaf like this, or it has a stem and it's a longer leaf, that works. You can do them just by themselves in groups of 1. Again, you can do that in any shape, big, small, whatever you like. Then you could do it in bunches. So let's say I wanted to do a grouping of 2 leaves, or even 3. A lot of the time you'll hear people telling you that in drawing, groups of 3 tend to look really pleasing to the eye. So I do things like that. Or you end up doing a vine like this. So the easiest way to do that is to just draw a really long sort of S curve and then add your leaf at the end and start bringing out some little branches and add more leaves that way. What you want to do is make this look really kind of natural, and so you don't want them all looking the exact same, and you don't always want them coming out from the same spot on the branch. So just really kind of loose like that. So those are kind of 3 different ways you can do the bunches together. Then you can vary the way that you're lining them up on that branch. So let's say you did that long S curve again. You could do them sticking right on the branch and coming out from the same spot the whole way. Or you could do that same shape, but have them all on their own little stems. And you can even make these stems have multiple of their own. So really adding lots of detail to it. It's really as simple as drawing the branches and then adding the leaves on. So I'm not going to finish that whole thing or we'll be here all day. The next thing to talk about when you're looking at leaves is adding some detail to them. So I'm going to take my 01 pen, again, just use whatever you have, and you can do a couple different things. So you could just add a line down the middle. You can add a line that is more off to one side than the other. Sometimes that adds some really nice dimension to it. Or you can add a line down the middle and add some detail lines. So having them coming in a downwards diagonal line towards the center. And then same thing on the other side. Okay, so those detail lines, and then as you add them to your branch, it just starts to give it a little more dimension. I've also seen people do the line down the middle and then color in one half of the leaf. And then I've also seen people add a little more of a flare to the end of the leaf too. Sometimes that can make it look a little bit more realistic. A lot of the times in nature you see the leaves ending at a point like that, and then the more detail you add to this one, the better it'll look. So you can do some really fine diagonal lines in some spots, some wider ones, some finer ones again. Just kind of adding some little shading lines. There's no real science to this, but as you start getting used to drawing florals, you'll start to notice some different things that people do, and that it might catch your eye and you think, oh, that looks really nice. But once you just know the basics of the way that the leaves are drawn, it's really easy to start changing them up. So that's the basics of leaves. Now let's look at other ways that you can add some little embellishments to your work. So I'm going to show you my 3 favorite things to add in between all of your leaves and your flowers, and just to kind of spice things up a little bit. So the first one is doing some little buds. So what that's going to look like is same as your leaves, draw a sort of S curve, and then you're going to draw a really imperfect sort of oval on the end of it. And then add another little imperfect oval coming around it. So now it looks like a little bud that hasn't opened up yet. And you're going to do that same thing all the way down your branch. Again, you can do these in groups, or you can do them single. You can do them different sizes and different shapes. So the more imperfect they look, the more natural it'll be. So those are buds. My next favorite thing to do is berries, and this one's really simple. So you can just draw that curve again, add some little branches coming off. And what I like to do with berries is definitely making the branches stem out into their own branches as well. So you've got lots of dimension on there. And then you can either just draw little circles, but what I like to do to step it up a notch is draw it as sort of a little oval. Draw your ovals on all of the ends of the branches. And then you're going to take the tip of your pen and just add a little flick at the end of each one, sort of overlapping into the middle. And it just makes them look that much more realistic. The other thing you can do to make them pop a little bit more is add a little bit of shadow where they meet at the bottom of the branch. And that's berries. And then my last little embellishment that I like to do are these guys. So I tend to put these in groups of 2 or 3. So you're just going to draw your stems out like this, and then take the tip of your pen and draw some dots in the shape of a circle. And just keep filling it out until it's a little darker. And that's it. So 3 really simple things you can add to your designs, but they're going to make it look that much nicer. So let's say we drew one really long vine with leaves and you wanted to add some of these to it. Here's what it might look like. Then once you hit this point, if you feel like you're missing a little bit of contrast, you can take your thicker pen and go over the branch and the leaves once more. So again, if you found this helpful and you want to learn a little bit more about how to draw different types of flowers or how to put them all together, feel free to check out the rest of my playlists. I've got a bunch of different ones, and you can also download all the step-by-step worksheets and go through it on your own. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.